to another episode of Avery's Corner featuring event hosts for the Green Bay Packers, Packers Everywhere, and the NFL, Rebecca Zaccard. How are you doing today?
I'm doing so great, Avery. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. So we met in London earlier this year for the Packers-Giants game. You were there with Packers Everywhere. Can you go into detail on the organization brought by the Green Bay Packers and specifically what is your role?
So Packers Everywhere is an amazing arm of the Green Bay Packers, which focuses on connecting fans from all across, not just the country, but the world. Obviously, as you mentioned, we met in London, connecting Packers fans to other Packers fans, to their local Lambeau, and just making the whole Green Bay Packers experience all across the world. And so they're amazing. I'm so lucky to be able to host their live events, specifically the Packers Everywhere Pep Rallies, where the Packers Everywhere team puts on usually 3 or 4 away games throughout the regular season, and then usually some postseason games when the Packers are in the postseason. And was so awesome, which you mentioned this last year, we actually got to do several events in London, and the Packers Everywhere name is appropriate because literally Packers fans are everywhere. You saw it. There were fans from all over the world, not just London. I mean, Green Bay showed up too, but there were Packers fans from everywhere. So as a Packers fan myself, it is so incredible to host events for them.
So going into more of the experience with, being not in the United States, how was it different? Did you think it was different or?
So as a host, I really care. I can get nervous, because even if I do it every single time, I can get nervous. And I was like, holy moly, I'd never been to England. I'd never been to London. And I was like, now I'm going to host. We did 2 events a night, 3 nights in a row. It's like, oh my gosh, what is this going to be like? And this happens everywhere. I walk into that bar, that venue, or that stadium, and it's Packers fans. They're my people. I'm a Packers fan. So it always calms my nerves as I just recognize, like, whether they're from London or Croatia or from Green Bay, there are people, and they are so passionate about the Packers. And so it was an amazing experience, and it was definitely different. I actually one thing that was really cool is outside Tottenham Hotspur on game day, I was on a big Packers bus hosting in front of all these people, and I was like, this is, bucket list moment. And I will say, at the game, what was different is that we saw all 32 teams represented. So even though there were mainly Packers fans and some Giants fans, of course, there were teams represented from everywhere. And I thought that was really, really cool.
Yeah, in the beginning when they came out with flags for each team. It was so cool. I loved that.
I loved that
it
too.
Connected everyone.
Absolutely. And my husband and I played NFL bingo. We literally we were like, okay, we want to see every single team. And we got random fans helping us. They're like, there's a Tennessee Titans fan. And it was awesome. And even though we lost that game, on the walk back to the bus, Steve and I, my husband, we saw our final team. I think it was Houston Texans. And we cheered like we just won the Super Bowl. Like we had so much fun. So we, find joy even, when the team doesn't win, but we want them to.
So how did you end up with Packers Everywhere? What was your schooling? If you went to college, your major?
Yeah. So, it's funny because the job that I currently have, I didn't know was a job. So I wasn't like, oh, I want to be a live event host, for the Packers when I grow up, because I didn't know that was possible. I wanted to be an actress. And so I went to UW-Madison. I studied theater, acting specialist, and I also studied Spanish. And then when I graduated, I moved out to Los Angeles to pursue acting. And it was such a cool experience. It was hard, but I, had some success and went on a lot of auditions and was in several commercials, but was trying to get into film and TV and just kind of trying to find my way. And after several years, I realized that it wasn't quite what I wanted to do. And probably partly because I didn't know that what I do now was a job. So I switched to hosting, and I switched to sports hosting, and I started, creating my own content. I actually took a web production class, and my first assignment was to start a vlog. And I was like, shoot, what am I going to talk about week in and week out? I thought about it, and I was like, Wisconsin sports, duh. So that's how I got started creating my own content, got some opportunities from that. Had some people believe in me, even when I didn't quite believe in myself yet. And hosted and created a sports show with my buddy, Travis Platt, one of my best friends. We created Blitzed, which even though currently I work for the Packers, that's still one of my greatest accomplishments in my career, because we did 40 plus episodes, and we did it week in, week out, and it was awesome. But from there, I wanted to do on-camera hosting originally, sports hosting, entertainment, comedy, the whole thing. But I'd never hosted a live event. And it was around 2014-ish when I had some big opportunities fall through. I thought it was my big break. I had this tailgate show that I shot a pilot for, and we were in deal negotiations for it to be a show. And I was like, this is it. I'm going to travel the country. I'm going to go to tailgates. This is going to be amazing. This is my big break. And then because of stuff completely out of my control, like mergers within the companies and stuff, the deal fell through. I was devastated. And then we lost our funding for the third season of Blitz.
Wow.
And I was like, man, I was bartending to like make money and support my pursuit of my dream. I was like, man, maybe this isn't going to happen for me. Like, maybe it's time that I give it up and get a square job. And I had an offer on the table for, 9 to 5 sort of deal. And then I got an email, and it was called the NFL Experience. And I opened that email. It was from a hosting academy that I had taken some classes with in the past. And it was a 3-day live event workshop. And they were going to potentially pick a few people from that workshop to host Super Bowl that year in San Francisco. I was like, that's my job. I turned down the job offer I had.
Wow.
I put the workshop on my credit card. I did not have the money for it at the time, but I was like, I'm doing this. And I went and I did this workshop, and lo and behold,
So that was like, this is my sign. I'm going to do it. And wow.
Absolutely. It was like the universe was like, are you sure you're ready to give this all up? And I was like, nope, I'm not. And Avery, I had never hosted a live event. My first live event
was going to be the Super Bowl.
Super Bowl. Who does that?
Oh my God.
It was scary, but it was amazing. And I will also, just as an aside, tell you that I wasn't great at first, because I was nervous and I was so trying to be perfect. I was trying to say the right thing. I was trying to do the right thing. And Rossi Morelli, who is the owner of Event Host Live and is still my representation now to this day, he took me off the stage, and he was the one who ran the workshop as well. Pulled me off stage. He was like, Rebecca. He's like, you're weird. Where's this going? He's like, you're maybe the weirdest person here. He's like, be weird, be you, be Rebecca. That is why I hired you. And I was like, okay. And I got out there, I did a high kick, and I just and started having fun and started letting go of that perfectionism, and had a ball. And I would say the rest is history, but then I continued to do Super Bowl year after year and get different opportunities hosting NFL kickoff. And Packers team was in Minneapolis at Super Bowl one year. I'm so bad with years. I don't know, 2017 maybe. And they were planning to do something similar to what they do at Super Bowl Experience, which I kind of liken it to Disney World for football fans. It's like, there's autograph signings, you kick a field goal, you throw a Hail Mary, you get to meet different NFL players. It's awesome. So the Packers wanted to do something similar at Lambeau for 100 seasons. And Rossi was like, look no further. I got her. She's a diehard Packers fan, born and raised in Wisconsin. She's a great host. I've got your girl. And so then eventually they ended up booking me for that. It was supposed to be a one-off gig. It was 4 days. It was awesome. I cried. I was like, I was like, this is the Green Bay Packers. This is my team. And I love sports. I love Wisconsin sports, but the Packers are it and
Mhm.
have that,
I agree.
she's like, I get it, girl.
Yes.
Two peas in a pod. So, it was amazing. And by the end of it, they were like, we don't know what we're going to have you do, but we know we want you. And they essentially created my position for me with Packers Everywhere. And luckily, they've been bringing me back year after year, and my role has grown, from doing the hype. That's what they call me, the Packers hype girl. I was like, okay, I like that. Doing the hype and the games and the giveaways. But originally I wasn't doing the interviews, and now I'm doing the player alumni interviews. I get to interview Mark Murphy, president and CEO of the Packers. I get to chat, X's and O's and like break down the matchup with Mike and Wes from Packers.com. And it's the dream.
So, has your work with the Packers extended into other opportunities? I know we were talking about other sports teams from Wisconsin. Have you been able to work with the Bucks or the Brewers or the Badgers?
Not yet. That would be awesome. I would love to. I don't currently live in Wisconsin, so a lot of the stuff that I do for the Packers, Packers Everywhere, those are away games. Sometimes it's at home. And then this last year, I was able to, and the year before, one game too, able to host some home games at Titletown, which is really awesome. But yeah, I'm open. So you guys are watching and you need somebody, you need a hype girl for the Bucks, I'm here. But I do a lot of different things, whether it's Super Bowl every year or NFL, or I got to host Army Navy game the last couple of years, which is college football. There's some other opportunities with some other sports that are in the works. I'm busy during football, but in the off season, I got some time. So I really would be so happy to do. I don't want to work for the Bears or anything. You know what I mean? Like I'm glad. I'd love to stick with Wisconsin sports teams, but I'm open.
So, can you vouch for Packer fans around the world and say that Lambeau is the best NFL stadium in the United States?
I can fully say I can admit that I am biased, but also I talk to a lot of football fans, right? And it's on everyone's bucket list. And the people that have gone say it is like the best, one of the best, if not the best. And what I love is it's so old school. I've been to a lot of stadiums, and you walk into AT&T Stadium or whatever, and it's like Jumbotron and there's all these ads. You walk into Lambeau and it's just the bull. It's just the Packers Hall of Famers and their numbers. It's just pure football, the way it's meant to be. And it's that
it's
small
the atmosphere, the fans, it's amazing.
It's amazing.
You get chills. It's like
I do too. I'm a crier, but I did cry the first time I went to Lambeau too. But let me ask you a question. Do you prefer the cold weather games or like the warm weather games?
The cold weather games.
You gotta.
And that plays into the whole vibe. I went to a game one time. I think it was a few years ago. I think in September, and it snowed. And it was like, we're at Lambeau. Like, of course it's snowing. Like, it's just, it's great.
Yeah, completely agree. It's cold, and there's like, if you're going to your first game at Lambeau in December or January, there are some tips and tricks. Anybody wearing more than 5 layers? You're wearing 2. He must be from Green Bay. You gotta bring the cardboard for under your feet. Have you ever done that?
No.
It's your feet get so cold, or you want cardboard under your butt if you don't have.
Yeah, because they don't have the seats. It's like the metal. Oh my God, it's awful.
Bleachers. We're old school. We're old school football.
So, like you said before, you served as an event host for the past 7 Super Bowls. What did this look like? Was there a specific player or memory that impacted your trip? Or
oh man, honestly, it's really the fans. I get to meet a lot of really cool players, and the players are awesome. And this last year, I got to do a session with Aaron Jones, which is awesome. And I got to do some interviewing of Christian McCaffrey and Deebo Samuel and Brock Purdy. That was, they're 49ers, but they're nice guys, great players. But really what stands out for me are the fan interactions. It's like it does not get old
Yeah.
being at the Super Bowl. Like it's so electric. We host the whole, kind of 10 days leading up to it. And like I mentioned, it's Disney World for football fans. It's anything that you would want to do, you can do. That's NFL related. And if there's anybody on stage or on mic or on DJ, it's probably one of our team from Event Host Live. So it's really awesome. And then we get to host the tailgate on game day. And the energy is electric. But so it's definitely the fan interaction. That's it. And sometimes as a live event host, you never know what's going to happen, right? Like I prepare a lot and then you kind of throw it all out the window because you don't know what's going to happen in the moment. And you have to pivot based on what you get thrown at. But there are some times where it's like absolute magic, where like you and the audience are just vibing. And there was this one time I was hosting with my buddy. I don't even know who the player was that was doing the autograph session. I don't even remember that. But there was a guy, we had a packed crowd waiting to meet these players. And it was me and my buddy Jay. And one guy was wearing like this custom suit coat of his team, right? And I was like, oh man, is that custom? And then another guy on the other side was wearing a Christmas sweater of his team. And for no reason whatsoever, we got half the crowd cheering, suit coat, suit coat, suit coat, and half the crowd chanting Christmas sweater, and just everybody was in on it. And it was absolute nonsense. Nobody won any prize. It was just, we took something that could have been a boring time. You're waiting in line to meet somebody, right? And made it the most fun and the most memorable. And it's like, that sounds so simple, but those are the moments that I'm like, wow, I can't believe I get to do this for a job.
Yeah. So how do you stay motivated during the off season?
It's funny. I really take a break.
Yeah.
Like I need to take a break because by the end of the season, usually with Packers, we're doing regular season games. I know in advance what my schedule is going to be, right? For the most part. And then the postseason is wild. Like, I'm like, okay, if they're going, I think I'm going. And so I have to be ready to fly to San Francisco next week if that's the case, and then it's boom, 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 boom. And then it's Super Bowl and it's 11 days and it's absolute madness. And you're just working 14 hours and you're just doing it, right? So by the end of it, I'm exhausted. So I really, I give myself breaks, I give myself rest, and then, I kind of gear back up. And like, I admit, I don't follow as much news and everything. Like I need that like mental break. And then as it starts to summer starts to wind down, it's like, ooh, it's football season. I have to get back in the zone. And everything that I do is like very much so self-motivated. So I have to be the one who's like, okay, I'm setting my schedule. I'm going to do research today, or I'm going to prep interview questions, or I'm going to, watch old interviews of the players that are coming up, so, it's definitely like ebbs and flows, but I definitely take my breaks because that's a lot of energy,
Yeah.
girl. You get it.
So where have you been able to travel with Packers Everywhere, and what has been your favorite?
So we've gone, my first was in DC. So we've done DC, Green Bay. We've done LA, San Francisco, London, obviously. Kansas City was really fun. Dallas was one of my favorites. It was outdoor at the venue and it was just that perfect weather. And it was, the backyard of this bar essentially felt like a backyard at your house. So there was like people playing cornhole and bags, but there was great music and we just had a ball. Charlie Barron's was there. He's so fun, Manitowoc Minute comedian. And we just had a ball. And it was like not quite suit coat and Christmas sweater chanting, but it was like it was on that level. I felt so in it. I felt so present, and the audience was in it and felt so present. And we had a ball. I will also say Green Bay, as mentioned, is really, really special. So I got to do postseason 2 years ago, and I got to interview LeRoy Butler, and we got to play games with the fans, and that was really cool. It was before he was Packers Hall of Fame at that point, but hadn't been inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. And then I got to see him after that in London. And it's just, he's a good one. He's a good egg.
Has there ever been a time at an event where the crowd was just not vibing? And like, how did you survive? And how did you?
Well, if you remember this last season, we had a little bit of a skid. So that losing streak, and Packers fans expect to win.
Yes.
We do. We have a culture of winning. We have an expectation of winning. And it is no fun when we're not. And it was before that Dallas game, the crowd was not excited.
Yeah.
And and DC a couple weeks before that too, it was just like they're kind of bummed. And that's definitely speaking in generalities. Like obviously some people are excited, they're happy to be there, they're excited to see the players coming up and all that. But there's definitely a different energy. And I hear hosts say, oh my God, I love doing what I do because I love vibing off the crowd. Sometimes you got to create the vibe.
Yeah.
You know, you've got to find the energy. You've got to woo them. You gotta charm them, and your whole goal, or my whole goal, is to make their experience better. So if I had a plan, oh, I'm going to talk about what's going on in the season, and they're not feeling it, I'm going to pivot, and it's like, okay, let's do some games, let's do some giveaways. What are they responding to? And so, A, you can't take it personally, and B, whether it's one person or 1,000 or 10,000, and whether they're the most excited they've ever been or they're not, you got to bring the same energy.
What seems to be like the biggest like crowd change? Like, is it the giveaways? Is it when players come out, or is it just like screaming dumb chants? Like,
It depends. I will say people do love free stuff. So giveaways help, especially when it's cool. Like, I don't know if you remember this in London, but those scarves, those
yeah,
like Packers Everywhere London scarves, were the hottest.
people were fighting for those.
They were, it wasn't, I didn't even get one. I was like, people want this. And there's the Packers Everywhere squad. There's some bucket hats that happen quite a few times, and people always want the bucket hats. Who knew? But you know, especially at a Packers Everywhere pep rally, like we're having fun, we're having games and giveaways, whatever. But they're there to see the players. They want to see the alumni. They want to hear from them. They want to hear from Mike and Wes. They want to hear from Mark Murphy. So that, in terms of Packers Everywhere, that is definitely, that gets the vibe going. But you know, sometimes you gotta, you know, maybe we're not there yet. Maybe we're an hour away from that. So you got to figure out a way to get them excited, or at least enhance their experience one way or another.
So, being a woman in a male-dominated industry, what insight can you offer to young women like me who want to pursue a career in sports?
Do it. Do it. I mean, it definitely is a male-dominated industry, but I'm so lucky that who I work with the most at Packers Everywhere and at Titletown too are amazing, strong, really, really smart, really supportive women. You know, so we're out there, and we need, you know, diversity in all ways, in all sports. And there's a need, because like, you know, when I first had to do, like when I first took over interviewing, you know, before me for the Packers Everywhere events or the pep rallies, it was Wayne Larrabee. He's the radio voice of the Green Bay Packers. He's been covering the Packers for forever, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God, how do I do that? Like, I could spin myself out, right? But no, I'm not him. I have a totally different perspective. And that's great. So I'm not going to try to be anybody else. We need different voices. We need different perspectives. And your special sauce is you know, your own authenticity, your own energy and vibe, and what you're interested in. So, you know, if you want to get into this industry, as I know you do what you're doing, which we mentioned this a little bit before we got started. You're doing it. You're creating content. You're spending your time practicing interviewing. You're out there talking to athletes, you know, and you're interning at designated report. And you've got your second show. That's awesome. So just start. And as I mentioned when I started my vlog, It wasn't great at first. My first live event I hosted wasn't perfect, but you gotta start, you gotta do it, and you'll just keep getting better and better.
Thank you so much for taking the time to talk with me today. I hope your role as an event host continues to inspire women like me and open doors for more opportunities for females within sports.
Oh my goodness, you're gonna make me cry. That's so sweet. Avery, thank you so much for having me. And honestly, just like keep doing what you're doing. You're amazing. You're inspiring other women too.
Thank you. Have a great day.
You too. Thanks so much.